on such short notice. We're really excited to provide this demo for going over the simplified reporting for the state and local fiscal recovery fund program. My name is Chris. I'm here at the Treasury Department's Office of Recovery Programs, and really want to use the time today as just a very hands-on walkthrough of demonstrating how to submit your project and expenditure report through what we're terming a simplified process. And this is really going to be particularly applicable for recipients who are receiving less than $10 million in SLFRF funds. So today's demo, I'm going to submit the report as if I were a recipient that is receiving less than $10 million in SLFRF funds. And I really hope that you follow along with me and that at the end of this process, we have a couple of thousand more submissions in. It'll be, truly that quick and easy. So, I'm happy to jump on in, but first, before we get to the demo, I just want to touch on, a couple of things. First, just what this video or this demo, will and won't cover. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is really tailored for the project and expenditure report and for recipients who are getting less than $10 million in SLFRF funds. I know a lot of folks may have other questions related to account creation, changing of roles in the system, or completing other reports that may be applicable to your jurisdiction. Not going to be able to cover all of those things. I will just say that if you are having technical difficulties logging into the portal, or you feel like you don't have the right contact, or you can't reach your account administrator, please reach out to us at the email address or the contact number on the screen here. We have folks actively manning these two intake sources to make sure that we're responding to your concerns as soon as possible. I think there's just a lot of influx right now, so we'll make sure we try to respond as timely as possible. But yeah, for those types of issues, please just reach out and we'll try to get an answer as soon as possible. So, all right, with that, let's jump into the high level, just quick steps on what you need to do to submit your project and expenditure report. And I really want to hammer this point home because these 4 steps here that I have on the screen are going to be the only steps you're going to need to take if you have less than $10 million in SLFRF allocation. So, there's really 2 parts, and I'll demonstrate that in the portal, but you're really going to be creating a project level information to capture your obligations or spending as it relates to revenue replacement. And that's because, and we'll get into it, if you're receiving under $10 million, you're allowed to place all of your costs under the revenue replacement category. So we'll demonstrate how to do that. And then separately, you're going to decide whether or not you want to take the standard allowance, and that is the standard allowance of up to $10 million. If your SLFRF allocation is under $10 million, there's really no benefit to selecting no. You should select yes. And I'm going to hammer this home throughout this demo, but the standard allowance is something that we've specifically provided as part of this program for you to elect to take, that reduces your reporting burden, simplifies all of the other processes related to reporting, and is designed to really make this process very quick and easy. So these are 4 steps. I'm going to go into them in detail in the demo. So with that, I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to try to share my screen here. One second. All right. So folks should be able to see here the screen for the project and expenditure report. And this is the landing screen for your report record. If you've been able to log in and view the project and expenditure report. If you haven't been able to get into a project and expenditure report record yet, or you haven't seen a record like this for your account in the portal, again, please reach out to us through the SLFRP at treasury.gov email address, or call our hotline, which it sounds like Rob is putting in the chat here. So I'll just start off page by page, and we'll just do a walkthrough and talk about what we're seeing here. So this is the introduction page of the project and expenditure report. And recognize there's a lot of information on here, more for general convenience. More importantly, on the right side, you're going to see information about your report's name, the due date and the period that it's covering, and then your allocation amount for your jurisdiction based on the latest info that we have. As I mentioned before, in this hypothetical scenario, I'm going to walk through submitting this report for a jurisdiction that only has $9 million in SLFRF funds. So, this will be applicable to similar recipients who, have, under $10 million. It's the same process. So here in the introduction page, you're going to see, a quick link to the user guide, which is posted on the Treasury website, and then a more substantive section here on bulk upload. Let's take a step back and say 9 out of 10 of you who have less than $10 million are not going to need the bulk upload functionality here. This is for recipients that have a lot of information to report, sometimes hundreds of projects. Don't worry about this bulk upload. If you have under $10 million in SLFRF allocation, I'm going to show you, you don't need to create too many projects to get your submission in. So again, this is here for convenience, but I'm not going to get into using bulk upload here because it won't be applicable to this group of recipients. So once we're past the introduction page, we're going to use the left side navigation bar here, and you'll see this list different pages. I'm going to go to Recipient Profile, and similarly, it's going to show, there's not really a whole lot to enter here. It's going to show information on my jurisdiction, including, the UEI number, the DUNS number that was provided to us by your state or territory, and then your reporting tier. And similarly, it should align with, what you're seeing, what you saw on the right side bar about your allocation amount. If you scroll down, you'll see a box where you can, submit information that you think needs to be corrected. Treasury will review it, and we're going to go through and try to correct any discrepancies you identified. And separately, the only required question here on this screen is the recipient registered in SAM.gov? You can select yes or no. I would just pause here and say, SAM.gov registration is a broader federal government requirement for receiving federal funds. You can answer yes or no here, and you can answer no in the subsequent questions, and that's okay. We're not, that doesn't penalize you in any way. It's just for Treasury to better know our recipients better and see what the challenges are. I know some folks have reported issues with getting their SAM.gov registrations through. I want to emphasize that's okay. It's not going to prevent you from submitting this report. So just want to be clear about that. We do need to ask this question, but it doesn't prevent you from reporting this particular report. So with that, I'm going to click save. My recipient profile information looks accurate. I'm going to continue on. I can either, again, use the left side navigation bar to go to project overview, or I can scroll all the way down past my contact list where, it should be the contact list of the contacts in your jurisdiction. In this case, it's, basically me and some test records, but you could also, click next to go to the next page. So I'm going to do just that. I'm going to click next. And here I'm at the project overview page. And this is really going to be that, the meat of really the reporting on obligations and expenditures. The first question you're going to be presented with is, the no projects verification. This is the first choice that you really have to make is, does your jurisdiction have projects to report in this period? If you don't have projects to report, you select my jurisdiction does not have any projects to report, in which case you're not required to do anything else on this screen, right? You have to enter in a narrative describing the reason, but you're not required to submit a project. So, just want to make that clear. We're offering this option because a lot of recipients have said that they don't have any projects to report at this time. If you fall in one of these categories, you select my jurisdiction does not have projects to report, and just give us a quick reason or a narrative describing, why or when you think you'll have projects to report. So that's all you have to do on this page. If you do have projects to report, so say my jurisdiction has projects to report, I'm going to select yes. We're going to select my jurisdiction has projects to report. I'm going to click save. And you will be asked to create a project. And this is where, I'm going to say there's been some miscommunication about what really needs to go here if you are, a recipient receiving less than $10 million. So if you're a recipient receiving less than $10 million as an SLFRF allocation, the presumption is that you can claim all of your award amount under the revenue replacement category. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm going to click add a new project, and a pop-up box will appear where it's asking me to enter information about the project that I want to create. Again, if I already am a recipient with less than $10 million in SLFRF allocation, I know that I only need to report everything under the category revenue replacement. I will say, if you have costs that may fit in other categories, that's okay. Any costs, any eligible costs that would fit in another category can be reported under revenue replacement if you are justifying how much you're going to claim in revenue replacement. So in this case, again, if you are a recipient under $10 million in SLFRF allocation, and you are taking the standard allowance, which we'll do so in a minute, all of your obligations and expenditures can go under expenditure category group 6 for revenue replacement. And your expenditure category should just be 6.1 provision of government services. The non-federal match is new for this reporting cycle, and that is only particular to a very small group of recipients, but mostly all of you should be able to put your categories of costs under provision of government services. So that's the category I'm going to choose here. And I'm going to operate in the assumption that mine, in this case, I have $9 million in SLFRF allocation. I'm going to use this project to capture my entire allocation. So let's just fill this form out together and show you how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to say this project for government services, and I will give my project a unique recipient project ID. Project ID is really more for your own tracking, however you want to track your projects within your jurisdiction. So in this case, I'm going to give my project a code. Adopted budget is optional, so you're not required to fill it out. You will be required to fill out cumulative obligations and cumulative expenditures. In this case, again, if you are a recipient receiving less than $10 million, you can really report your entirety of your allocation here, and that's what I'm going to do. So in this case, I've obligated $9 million in obligations for this project. I can enter up to 9 million in expenditures. I leave that up to you, how much you've actually expended cumulatively for this project. But in this hypothetical scenario, I'm going to say I've actually expended, the whole amount of my SLFRF allocation for this project. So current period obligations and current period expenditures, these are specific to your reporting period. In this case, it is January it's January to March 31st. So if in that period you had obligations and expenditures, you will report it in this these two fields. In this case, let's just say that all of my obligations and expenditures were incurred prior to January 1st, 2022. I would enter in 0. And again, this is, will be based on your own jurisdiction's finances when these activities occurred. So program income earned and program income expended, these are optional. There might be certain circumstances where you do have a revenue replacement project that has generated program income. If not, if you don't know what this means or if it doesn't apply to you, you can leave them blank. So separately, you're going to be asked to just enter in a project description. And for this, I think there's been some confusion about how much detail to go in. We would just ask that you provide as much detail as possible about how you're going to use SLFRF funds in this project. Is it going towards salaries? Is it going to build, a school or a park or roads? As much detail as you're able to provide. And so I'm going to copy over just a version that we saw come in January reporting that was, might be a helpful rubric. Again, this is not required, and please don't, just copy over the same description, but this is an example of a description that we received for a similar revenue replacement project. In this case, the recipient said the project is to construct a 3-bay fire station or replace the existing station at a specific location. Current station is fabricated as a fabricated metal building constructed, way back in 1973. This building has exceeded its functional lifespan and no longer provides an optimal working and living environment for first responders. That's really helpful. Again, it's specific to your use. I would just say provide as much detail as you feel you can provide to help us get a sense of where these funds are going. So again, I'm just providing this project description as an example because I think does a fairly good job. And we're going to use that for our example here. So once you've done all that, I'm just going to go ahead and click Add Project in the blue button right here. And just like that, I've created a project that shows in the My Project list that I can, if I need to edit, I would just click the project status icon here to open the box back up, and I can edit any of the values and I can save again. So again, editing a project you previously created, that allows you to do that. What I've done here then is created one project with my entire SLFRF allocation amount. And that is all you're required to do for project reporting if you've received under $10 million in SLFRF funds. I will say you're welcome to create more than one project under revenue replacement for your own tracking purposes. The system allows you to do that, and we've gotten some questions from NEUs about wanting to split it up, instead of 9 million, split it up into 2 projects of 4.5 million, for example. You're welcome to do that. That would be great for us at Treasury to see that detail, but you're not required to. And the system allows you to not need to do that. So that's project overview and creating a project in a nutshell. So once you've done that, and you see all green statuses here, you can move on to the following pages. Before I move on, I just want to emphasize something that, actually I'll bring it back up on the page. When you are submitting a report with just the category revenue replacement, we're explicitly saying you do not need to fill out other parts of this report, including the subrecipients page, the subawards page, or the detailed expenditures page. You do not need to provide that detail because you've claimed everything under revenue replacement. So we provide that notification here, and you'll see why that's important, because you're going to skip a whole bunch of pages. If you tried to go to next, you're going to see the same notification up top that you do not need to fill this page out. And you're not going to be able to fill it out. So yeah, you can move on to subawards and direct payments. The same thing appears. You do not need to fill this page out because you've claimed everything under revenue replacement. So again, you can move on. Same thing for expenditures. You do not need to fill this page out because you've claimed everything under revenue replacement. The final page that you're asked to fill out information is the recipient specific page here, right before certification. I'll click into it and we'll go to what we're asking for here. The key question that we're asking for the April 2022 report, especially for jurisdictions receiving less than $10 million, but really this question is for everyone, is your jurisdiction electing to use the standard allowance of up to 10 million, not to exceed your total award allocation for identifying revenue loss? And it's a simple yes, no question. I will say, and I will reiterate myself again here, if you are a jurisdiction that is receiving less than $10 million in SLFRF award, like if your allocated amount on the right side is less than $10 million, you should say yes to electing the standard allowance. There is no benefit to your jurisdiction to select no. Selecting no is, requires more detailed reporting requires you to provide manual calculations and is really designed for jurisdictions that are able to claim a much higher amount of revenue loss. So I'll reiterate again, if you're getting less than $10 million in your SLFRF allocation, you should select yes to the first question, is your jurisdiction electing to use the standard allowance of up to $10 million? Subsequently, if you select yes, the only fields you're going to have to fill out here are your revenue loss due to COVID-19. Since we answered yes to the above question, what I would enter here is my total allocation amount. Because there's no benefit to claiming less than that. I would enter in my entire $9 million allocation amount in the revenue loss due to COVID-19 box. And I would say, were fiscal recovery funds used to make a deposit into a pension fund? The answer should be no. Again, if you actually have made a deposit into a pension fund, please make us aware by selecting yes. But I would imagine the vast majority of folks here should be able to answer no. But again, make sure when you're answering this that is accurate. And then, finally, just another explanation box. Please provide an explanation of how revenue replacement funds were allocated to government services. And, again, as much detail as you're willing or able to provide here would really help us. There's no set template. There's no, it's not a homework assignment. We don't have exact language that we want you to use. Just given the varied ways that you could use these funds for government services, we ask you to provide as much detail as possible. For the convenience here, I just copied over, a similar draft language that, we've seen from some other jurisdictions. Oops, that's not right. There we go. I'm just copying over, an example of an explanation that we've seen in prior reporting that may be helpful. In this case, a recipient reported that revenue replacement funds were allocated to general government services provided by a jurisdiction, including but not limited to maintenance, repairs to county facilities, financial support for employees, repairs and replacement to roads and bridges, and pandemic-related expenses that provide for the mitigation and mediation of the negative economic impacts of COVID-19. Again, this is an example. You don't have to use this example. I would make sure that the explanation reflects your jurisdiction's actual use of these funds. But because there's some desire to have an example, I wanted to copy an example here. So once we have all that, I'm going to click save. And my changes have been saved. So that is it. That is all I needed to enter before I hit the certification page. And this is the crux of it. I want to just hit on this again. There is no benefit if you are a jurisdiction receiving less than $10 million to say no to this standard allowance question. You should say yes, because it will simplify your reporting and make it much more streamlined and definitely less confusing. So please, just, if you have any questions about that, please reach out to us. So once I've done that, I'm going to click next. And on the certification page here, and basically all this is doing is just summarizing my report. In this case, my report is fairly simple. I had one project. With $9 million in obligations and $9 million of expenditures. Just quickly confirm that those reflect the numbers that you yourself enter, and that there are no warning signs under your project status. If that all looks good, you scroll down to the certification statement to make sure that your information is accurate. I would just hit on one thing here, which is only your jurisdiction's authorized representative can certify and submit the report. I know there's been a lot of questions lately about roles and who has the right roles. At this point, if you are, a non-entitlement unit of government, we've actually made it much simpler where all account administrators are also authorized representatives. Of course, account administrators can go in and change those roles. I would, direct you to the website for videos on how to do that. But just given, the questions we've gotten around this topic and the, different staffing capacity levels at smaller jurisdictions, we've simplified this process where if you're an existing contact that's an administrator, you should have the ability to certify and submit. If you're not able to certify and submit, again, because of role issues, please email us and we'll get that sorted out. So if everything I submitted looks right, and what I believe is submitting is accurate, I'm going to go and certify and submit, and this box will pop up saying, am I sure? I'm going to go click submit, and that's it. I've submitted the report. This is just an optional survey at the end of the process where you can give us some feedback about your thoughts about the reporting. I'll say this is very much a learning process for us as it is for you. We're trying to make our reporting more streamlined and easy as possible for all recipients. So your feedback is really valuable. You can provide some feedback and then some text here to tell us what you think. And you can submit the survey, or you can cancel out of it to be redirected to the homepage. And that's it. That's all you need to do to submit your project and expenditure report. I'll say you're going to be redirected to the homepage of the Treasury portal. I will show you how to go in. One of the key questions we get is, I've submitted my report. How do I go in and edit the information I previously submitted? So I will just say right off the bat, if you've already submitted your report, you are allowed to go in at any point between now and the April 30th deadline to go in and edit your, unsubmit and edit your report. It will require you to resubmit. So let's go in and I'll show you exactly how to do that. So I'm going to go to your reports. And your screen is going to look much more simpler than mine. You're going to have just 2, maybe 3 records of reports. I just have a lot of test records here. I'm going to go back to the report record that I just submitted, which is this one that I'm highlighting here. You're going to see the status is submitted. So I'm going to click the little eye icon to view the report that I just submitted. And I can click into it. It brings me back to the report. It's the same exact report that I just filled out, except now on the right side, I see the status is submitted. And I see under here an unsubmit button. I can click this unsubmit button to change my report back to draft status that allows me to make edits. So I'm going to click unsubmit. A box pops up saying, are you sure you want to unsubmit? You need to recertify and submit if you want this report to be counted as a submission. So I'm going to click unsubmit. And let's just say I want to make an edit. I want to say, in reality, I had, less expenditures than I originally anticipated. So it's actually 8 million expenditures cumulatively than 9 million. So I go into the project overview. I click the, let me do that again. Project overview, and click the project status to open up the project window. And again, I can make edits to this project. And I will just say, it's 8 million instead of 9 million. That's fine. I'm going to save project. And if I refresh, great. If I refresh, the figures in the table change, then I know I did it right. So assuming that's all I wanted to change in this report, I can go back to the certification page by jumping using the navigation window on the left side. And I can scroll back down to certify and submit. And I can submit again. And like that, you know, I can change my survey again if I want to. So that is really the entirety of the exercise to submit through the simplified process. I want to emphasize again, if you are a recipient who is, you know, receiving less than $10 million in SLFRF allocation, that is the process you should use to submit. There is no benefit to, you know, selecting a project under a different expenditure category. There's no benefit to selecting no to taking the standard allowance. That is available options because, you know, other recipients do need to take those choices. But I want to be clear, if you are a recipient with under $10 million in allocation, it really, you know, should be all under revenue replacement for your project categories, and you should take the standard allowance. So if that, you know, makes sense, you know, I hope it does. Your reporting should be fairly smooth. I do want to open up some questions in a moment, but before we take some live questions, let me go over some like frequently asked questions that we do receive on our end. So 1 second, I'm going to stop sharing and put up some slides. Okay, so oftentimes we get questions of, you know, what if I don't have any revenue loss to report? Should I still elect to take the standard allowance? And the answer is yes. If you're a recipient that has less than $10 million in allocation, we provided the standard allowance, the option to elect the standard allowance to presume that you have revenue loss that you can claim. And that is there for your benefit to streamline your reporting and to, you know, streamline the data that Treasury reviews. So it absolutely should be something that, you know, you take advantage of if you are a smaller jurisdiction. Again, if you have less than $10 million in SLFRF allocation, you know, you should absolutely select yes to electing the standard allowance. And the next question we typically get is, you know, do I need to provide any documents or backup for taking the standard allowance? The answer is no. The report does not require any, you know, backup documents or any additional, you know, backup for electing to take the standard allowance. Again, it was, you know, included as part of this program, as part of the final rule, to make the reporting for small jurisdictions easier. And the standard allowance is a presumption that there is up to $10 million in revenue loss if you elect to take the standard allowance. So, you know, again, we're not collecting any additional documents or backup if you elect to take the standard allowance. Next common question we get, and I touched on this in the demo, was, you know, can I create more than one project under the category 6.1 for revenue replacement? Yes, you're welcome to create as many projects, you know, that reflect how your jurisdiction is actually using the funds. You know, you're not the aggregate of all of your projects being claimed under that category should ideally align with how much, you know, you're claiming. If you're claiming the standard allowance, it would be up to your total allocation. but you can disaggregate that in whatever way you see fit for your jurisdiction. In the demo just now, I just put it onto one project, and that's fine as well. And that's the easiest path. But if you feel like your jurisdiction needs to track things, in different ways, you're welcome to split it up as necessary. And the system will allow you to do that. And lastly, but certainly one of the most popular is will there be a deadline extension, and what happens if I cannot submit by the April 30th deadline? I want to just say here, we recognize there are folks with technical challenges right now. So the challenges that only our IT help desk can help solve, or challenges that may ultimately delay your submission of the report. I just want caveat to say, like, we're trying to be partners with you on this, right? Treasury's goal is to make sure that we are able to collect useful information about the use of these funds while in partnership with your jurisdictions. If for some reason you're not able to get your report in after the 30th, it's not going to be an immediate, like non-compliance. We're going to work with you to figure out why you're not able to submit. If you're experiencing technical challenges, we're going to make sure that we resolve those technical challenges. And if there's already communications that you've sent to our help desk or our inbox, that we recognize that, and we'll make sure that we follow up and make sure you're taken care of it even after the deadline. So it's all to say, just because you're missing the deadline because of technical challenges does not mean that you're suddenly a non-compliant recipient, or that Treasury is going to immediately come after you to take the funds back. I want relieve some anxiety there. That is not the goal or the plan for us at Treasury. We really do see ourselves as partners in this exercise, and want to work with you to make sure that you can report by the deadline if possible, but if not, as soon as possible thereafter. So that's all I have. I'll just, before we jump into live Q&A with the remaining time, I just want to leave you with some additional resources. First, the link here to the Treasury website for reporting, which is www.treasury.gov/SLFRP reporting. The link here to our Treasury portal, which is the portal I just displayed and demoed. And again, any questions or technical issues or flags to raise for us, please email us at slfrp@treasury.gov, or give our contact center a call at 844-529-9527. I recognize there's been a lot of communications lately, no doubt a backlog. We're trying to work through it as soon as possible.